Hi, everyone. Did you go cameraless?
No, I didn't go cameraless. I'm right here, man.
Oh, okay.
How are you?
Yeah. Is anyone watching? You have control of things.
There could be 4 people watching.
Up to 4 people?
Yeah, up to 4 people. Yeah, exactly. Hold on. There was a way that my lovely lady would like to start the podcast. Oh. I hope it works. It's worked every time, so I hope it works.
Alexa, play Boiled Sports Podcast.
Getting the latest episode of Boiled Sports Podcast Network. Here it is from TuneIn.
See, man.
I go up there and
see, this is Justin talking to Justin. Okay, Alexa, stop.
And then he comes by really slowly.
Do you keep Alexa like between your legs or something?
No, I don't. This thing freaks me out, and now I'm banishing it away from my office.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that Alexa listens.
Yeah, no, I don't like it at all. But that's the thing. You can just tell Alexa to play the podcast. You don't even have to use your hand.
It is so easy to listen to the Boiled Sports Handsome Hour or the Boiled Sports Basketball Beat. All you have to do is ask Alexa.
Who's listening to you anyway?
Exactly. She's gonna go, oh, I know what you like. I know.
Well, I know everything you like.
Exactly. I don't trust any of that stuff. And
no,
I'm glad I'm glad I'm not the only.
I told you that
yes.
story of like we were recording the podcast.
You go out there and you see the blue light
out of my room and the thing was lit up.
And then you said, I've told people that story, how you then kept asking her questions until you've like, Alexa, what are you doing? And then you finally said, Alexa, weather. And you're like, Alexa then realized that she was caught and was like, turned off.
Oh, boy.
Like, no, you little brat.
I saw the light. Alexa.
Between that and those Massachusetts, whatever those are, robotics things.
Yeah, the ones that can open doors.
Yeah, for their friends. We're done, man.
These Boston Dynamics people didn't watch Jurassic Park because they were like, once the Raptors learn how to open doors, that's the game. That's the ball game.
Once the Raptors learn.
That's it, man. And these are Raptors that can be shot and nothing happens. Nothing. It's the robots.
You know what would be a great job for those robots? Doing the selection show.
Oh my God.
Because what they would do is in 15 or 20 minutes, they would release all the brackets and all the teams, which here's what I'll say about the selection show that started off really rough. They wound up finishing the first hour pretty strong because they had every region revealed inside of like 35, 40 minutes in total. So like after that weird start where they said, well, here's all the automatic qualifiers that you would know if you've watched any basketball over the last week. After they did that and then announced all the at-large, and then they did all the regions like they do every other year, right? And you're like, all right.
But the alphabetized was a little like really like, did we have to go like A? Okay, here are all of the A's.
Oh, Alabama's in it. Well, yeah, and then they had to be like, oh, is the next one Notre Dame? No, it isn't.
I have to say I enjoyed that because if it was Notre Dame, that would have gotten on my nerves because Notre Dame didn't make it and Ernie took an extra second to be like, is Notre Dame going to be there? Are they not? Oh, looks like they suck.
Exactly. Thanks, Ernie.
Like you can't use injuries. You can't use injuries when you lose.
That's a weird narrative that's been out there. Mm-hmm. Right, that narrative where people are like, well, but they had injuries throughout the year. So what? So does everybody.
And it's a weird. First of all, they lost like 7 straight games at 7 or 8 straight games at one point. And when they had Bonzie Colson, who's awesome, I love watching Bonzie Colson. Bonzie Colson makes me happy. But when they had him, they lost to IU and to Ball State. Like it's not like they were stellar.
So, what became clear to me hearing some of the rationale, like Oklahoma getting in, Trae Young, like the committee wants
all on that too, yeah.
But the committee wants good. They want exciting players. They want players like that in the tournament. I don't think you can argue. There's no doubt that that's the case right now because Oklahoma getting in, Notre Dame almost getting in because of that. Like that's we joked here I was all on the Nebraska and Penn State bandwagons. I'm still bothered for them because, first of all, I don't care if the Big Ten's down. They're not that down. There's no way Alabama belongs in this tournament. They're 19-15. Niche. They didn't win their conference tournament. They're 19-15. They went 8-10 in the SEC. And here's the stat I love. They got thrown up there. I just got to get this out, and then we'll talk about Purdue, I promise. But they threw up on the board Alabama 6-2 against the top 25 this year, which, first of all, who gives a shit about the top 25? Because, right, like there's other ways to measure good wins. To say really 24-25 is like so weirdly arbitrary. That's like saying, well, Purdue has a win over the number 2 team in the country because they pummeled Arizona, remember?
Who needs context? Who needs context?
Right. So they're 6-2 against the top 25. Let's say that actually is completely valid and impressive. That means that they are 13-13 against the not top 25. So
don't bring logic and stuff into this.
That's ridiculous. They're not even over 500 against
the Colin Sexton is enjoyable. And so
there you go.
There it is.
There
right.
Who would make it? Carson Edwards. Even if they were
next year. I mean, that's we're banking on this next year, right? When Carson Edwards is Colin Sexton.
Purdue will be a tournament team next year. I actually
Colin Sexton.
Purdue will be a tournament team next year, and Carson will be amazing. And
National Player of the Year, right?
And he'll average 35. Harms will get, his 15 or 20. Ryan Klein will suddenly turn into
15 or 20. 15 or 20 what? Harms is going to get 15 or 21.
A combination of blocks, minutes, and
okay.
Looks. I don't know.
Yeah, good. Hair flip.
He might score 15 points a game.
Might. Rim running, because the offense is going to be completely different. Rim running for Carson is going to be fun. I hope so.
Right.
So maybe
we should talk about this year, though.
Yeah, let's talk about this year. I mean, because we have this year. Why not? There was a theory out there that we were waiting until the Pacers game to end. And the Pacers did, in fact, win 99-97. So that was just a mere coincidence. That's why we got delayed. So anyway, this year, Purdue is the number 2 in the East.
Mm-hmm.
Villanova's number 2. That was kind of a surprise because
Villanova's number 2.
Villanovan's number 2. Yeah.
Apostrophe yes.
Everybody thought that Purdue would be kind of paired with Xavier. Xavier heads out west.
Midwest. Everybody had Xavier and Purdue as the 1-2 in the Midwest. Way to go, everyone.
Yeah. But it looks like Nova's in the East. Nova's number 1 in the East. Purdue is the number 2, and the number 3 is Texas Tech. So let's start with the number 3. Purdue avoided Tennessee. If you're really that worried about that, Purdue avoided Michigan. There was no way they were going to get Michigan, but I am glad they didn't. They generally don't like putting rematches that early, if they can help it. Even though Butler could happen. And then who's the other number 3? Michigan State. So 2 Big Ten teams as the number 3 that could put it process of elimination. That was a good one.
It's interesting. Yeah. Big Ten gets only 4 teams in, but they're all,
top seeds. Yeah.
I mean, if any of those teams, let's be honest, if any of those teams went to the Final Four, I don't think the country would be shocked, right? Because everybody's seen those teams play well this year, including Purdue.
In fact, out of the West, I think Michigan is going to be the most picked team because the number 2 there is UNC. The number 1 is Xavier, who's kind of like a borderline 1-2, right?
It was weird because when I said something about the Big Ten sending so many Final Four contenders, I believe it was Michael, who's not here to defend himself. That's what I'm going to go after. I believe it was him who acted like I was crazy. That if Purdue or the Big Ten sends 4 teams, are they all? I haven't studied it closely.
No, I got it.
Are they 4 different regions?
Purdue is in the East. In the Midwest, there's Michigan State. In the West, there's Michigan, and Ohio State is in Xavier. So they're in the West as well.
Okay. So we can only have 3 Big Ten teams.
Can only have 3 in the Big. That would be funny.
That's fine.
That would be funny. Purdue, the Big Ten only gets 4. Not that I care about conference or anything, but
I don't either.
Penn State, Nebraska not making it. They're
you were okay with
it. Just win, man. Penn State
had a pretty good year. They did 3 wins over Ohio State.
But their only good wins were over Ohio State. So that kind of sucks.
Let me ask you something. And I know you could look this up, but without looking it up, just for a second. Hands
are off the mouse.
You know me. Is Michigan State's best win of the season over Purdue?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so take that win away, and
at home versus Purdue by a game-winning 3-pointer.
Yeah.
By the way,
so who's their best win against? I mean, they don't have 3 wins over Ohio State. All I'm saying is Penn State won a lot of games.
Penn State
they won over 20, and they won some really good games. And I don't know why I'm so hung. I know why I am, because they had a decent year. They had some big wins. They're a tough team to play, and when I see the quality of teams getting in this tournament from the SEC and from the Big 12,
how many teams did you say? A Big 12. Big 12
was good. I agree.
They were hyped all year. They were probably a little better or a little worse than everybody was saying.
No, but they were good
because they beat up. It was a good conference this year for sure.
SEC got 8 teams, to answer your question. 8 teams.
The SEC, not the ACC.
The ACC got 9.
The ACC is always good. The ACC is always good. 9's a lot.
9's a lot.
The SEC got 8 teams. That's nuts.
It really is.
Do what you got to do, So who are we rooting for? I think we should answer that.
I like Purdue a lot. I went there.
I do. Unfortunately, I do too. And I think all maximum 4 of our watchers. I think we have a couple more than that.
Yeah. Rooting for, what do you mean? In terms of other teams you want to see do well?
Yeah. So first, Purdue plays Cal State Fullerton. 2 over 15.
Who we're rooting for to match up against?
Yeah. So
selfishly, Stephen F. Austin, Marshall. I mean, who else is in here?
Georgia State's not bad, but yeah, I'll take them. Lipscomb.
I'm looking in the East. Don't be ridiculous.
Okay. Sorry. I was getting ahead of myself.
It's funny because so Purdue plays Cal State Fullerton. I while that would not be a qualify for a bloober where you would walk to refresh everyone on a blueberry, if Purdue was a 1 and lost to a 16, you would be consumed by a whale. I've just given the Cliff Notes version, and for anyone who wants to know the details, you just have to listen to the podcast more often.
Yes, if Purdue would have gotten the 1 seed and lost to a 16, I would have walked from Pittsburgh, which is where I currently am, to the shores of Virginia, and just walked into a whale. The whale would have just been, his mouth would have been just waiting, and I would have walked
at peace. You would have just sort of walked. It just serene.
Serenity.
Take me. That's so what I was going to say is I don't think that a 15 over 2 would be quite bloober quality, but it'd be pretty bad. So let's assume that's not going to happen. Yeah. And the 2 seed. Okay, a couple things on the bracket here, on the region and on the draw. We've seen a lot of people kind of doing the same thing that we did on the Bold Sports group chat, which I think happened almost. It was fun to see it in real time, right? Like, I think I was actually the first one to say to you guys, I kind of like this bracket, and then you guys like, no, I love it. Oh no, I love this bracket.
I mean, if you look at the other ones, it's like, the ones I wanted to avoid were like this in the 7-10 matchup where St. Bonaventure.
Right.
I wanted to avoid Nevada just because of Kendall Stevens. There were a couple here. I wanted to avoid Seton Hall. Just
I
because
want no part of A&M. I don't know why they bought them.
You wanted no part of A&M. I had no problem. Providence, Rhode Island.
Providence bothers you?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know why it bothers you, but we all have our things. Rhode Island, absolutely don't want any part of Rhode Island.
You know how your brother went to Xavier and my sister went to Rhode Island, so that would have been not too bad in the household, the money household, but
I think Purdue getting the winner of Arkansas Butler. Arkansas is a tough team, another athletic team. I think they won over 22 games in the
vaunted
SEC. Well, they got 8 teams in the tournament, man. 20, they're 23-11, Arkansas. They're the same. I don't think they have one big who's like a real thing, but they have a lot of athleticism. And so it's like if Tennessee was a little bit worse and had 1 center, that's a matchup. But Butler, Purdue beat Butler. Butler always has magic. But
Butler's a tournament magical team. I kind of hope that's gone now, but I mean, you can't start to drill down to this level and be like, because you're going to find something you're scared of on every team.
You're the 2 and you made the tournament. You know what I mean? Like if 68 teams make the tournament, like all of them are going to be some level of decent, right? So,
there's a lot of things that, but taking in the aggregate here, looking at this region, and we all agreed pretty quickly that this is the best draw Purdue could have gotten in this tournament and has gotten in a long, long time. Like we talked for weeks leading up to this, is what you want to avoid. Like you said, some of those teams like Nevada and so forth, but you want to avoid the bracket of death, right? There always seems to be one region that is weirdly stacked. And right now, I remember, like, look at second round, Kentucky and Arizona are probably going to play in the South.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. They stuck all the good teams in the South.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Tennessee's over there, Nevada, Cincinnati. That is an insane. Oh, my goodness. Poor Virginia. What kind of a reward is that for the number 1 overall seed?
I know. It's tough.
It doesn't make sense. You're going to have to play. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to play Kentucky or Arizona in the Sweet 16, right? Yeah,
and an Arizona team that found it. The only reason that they're number 4 is because they had an awful December, right? They had an awful November and December, and they found it.
I'm actually surprised they fell all the way to a 4. I thought they'd still be like a 3, maybe.
Won
the Pac-12 tournament
without Trier. They won the Pac-12 tournament, but I don't know.
They're good.
Early season,
they're good.
If early season wins are going to count, early season losses have to too. You know what I mean? And Arizona had a good amount of them. And they had a good December. I'm sorry. So because it was over Thanksgiving, right?
They woke back up. Yes.
Yeah. And then they Purdue and them went on. Right.
I mean, so Purdue, I'll also say, continues to get an interesting amount of respect because.
Except from Seth Davis immediately after,
but he's respected him all year.
Yeah,
so it's very weird that and the people getting bothered by that. I don't care about that. If you want to say Purdue could be upset, they could be if they play half asleep like they did in the Big Ten tournament final.
Yeah,
then anyone could beat them. So you want to say that's fine. You know what, guys? Let's see this team go out and prove everybody wrong, and then have a great laugh about it, and then say, "Wow, anyone who picked Purdue as an up." And you know what else? Purdue's a 2. The 1s and the 2s are the teams that everyone wants to hear, oh, who could be upset? No one's going to say, I think that 5 could get upset. I mean, maybe they could, but that always happens. That's not an upset so much anymore. So
that was a 4. Purdue was a 4 last year, correct? And because they played the one Kansas,
yes,
and then the year before they were the 5 because they were the 5-12.
Yes,
5-12, and everybody, and they were a very commonly upset pick, and we were having laughs over that. And
especially then 3/4 of the way through the game, we were like,
Arkansas Little Rock, yeah, man, 35, whatever, 5 minutes left to go, 8 minutes left to go. Yeah.
62-45 or 60, whatever the heck it was.
You're still mad at me about the post game that I did not write for that game. I still owe you a post game for that because I just
wrote one just to say, well, I guess the nation isn't doing this.
Yeah, you're still because I was just like, I can't do it. That was the Arkansas, because it ended. It was so abrupt. It was
rather abrupt because it went double overtime, I believe.
And there were
Why
some.
Why are we reliving this? What are we doing?
Because. Who was it? Who was it to? I mean, where Purdue might play them. Oh, so Cincinnati was the first one, but then Arkansas Little Rock, their coach might be waiting for Purdue in the Sweet 16. So Purdue got Texas Tech. But Texas Tech is, if you go by the seeds, they're the ones that are waiting for Purdue.
But when you look at that, okay, there's no. So let me throw out my not hot take, but my. I've not felt great about the way Purdue's played 5-4 down the stretch. But, when you're a top 2 seed, right, and if you play to seed, you should be in the Elite 8, right? So, and that's a big thing to be like, oh, the Elite 8. You don't snap unless you're Kansas, you don't snap your fingers and go to the Elite 8. But Cal State Fullerton, Arkansas or Butler, then some mishmash of Florida, St. Bonaventure, UCLA, Texas Tech, probably not Stephen F. Austin.
Hey man, don't count the Austins out. Stevens, I'm sorry, they're the Stevens.
But if you look at those opponents, and you find yourself. Let me just say this: if you're a Purdue fan, you find yourself saying, "I really think Purdue should beat those teams." That's fine. You can feel that way, and you should feel that way. And it's time to just allow yourself to feel that way. They should win against any of those opponents. They should. Yes. You know what? It's okay to be excited. I'm going back to last summer's football hashtag. It's okay to be excited because because this lines up as well as it can line up for Purdue. And then there will be people who are like, oh, but that just sets up the disappointment. Yeah, sure it does.
It does.
But what do you want? Do you want a challenging bracket that's going to be the hardest possible? Or do you want something that kind of is like, wow, if Purdue plays even reasonably to their abilities, they don't have to play over their heads, and they can go to the Elite Eight, right? If they play just to their abilities.
So in the Midwest, if Purdue was the number 2 seed, if Purdue and Duke switched, it would be versus Iona, who's a tough terrifying. That's a tough 15 matchup.
Yes.
Then they play the winner of then they play the winner of Rhode Island, Oklahoma.
Oh dear God!
So
they Rhode Island or Trae Young.
They probably play Rhode Island, who's the better team with the better coach, or Trae Young.
Trae Young's going to put up 50 in that game.
Yeah, and then they get probably Michigan State.
Yeah. So, someone on Twitter, and I don't even want to look it up because it was someone that we regularly interact with, and so I don't want to put them on blast here. You can find it if you want, but they said that they would rather switch with Michigan State.
No,
thank you. Are first of all, Bucknell is a scary draw. If you're a high seed, you don't want a team like Bucknell. They've taken down teams before, and they're pretty good. So I don't want them. I'll take Cal State Fullerton. Thank you.
There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There have been 8 15-2 upsets in the history of the NCAA tournament, all since 1991. Unfortunately, 3 have happened in the last 6 years.
Well, this is why I do believe, and now I've been saying this for probably 10 years. So I said at least 10 years ago, I said, 16 is going to be to 1. And I said inside the next 5 years. And of course it didn't happen, but there have been a couple close calls. There have been a couple close calls.
Yeah.
And I do still think that's going to happen because eventually,
who's your pick this year? So if one, I don't know.
To pick one.
What's UMBC? What's BC? It's Missouri, right? University of Missouri. UMBC is playing something named UMBC is playing Virginia, and Baltimore. Oh, Maryland. I'm sorry to the entire state of Maryland. University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
How the hell did they get in the NCAA tournament?
Hey, they won their auto bids are weird, man. Auto bids are weird sometimes.
Their BPI is 172.
So they're probably not going to be the one.
Their RPI is 116. Holy hell. Yeah.
I think let's say Kansas, Penn over Kansas. That's my pick. Penn over Kansas.
Ooh, that's juicy.
I'm gonna pick Penn.
Getting
Penn
16.
Look at that, 24 wins, 24-8 in the Ivy. That's my pick for this year.
They're smart. They're very smart players.
You know, they say they're coaches on the floor sometimes. So,
no, but I mean, I actually don't mean the facetious way. They're actually smart. They're Ivy Leaguers. I don't know. None of those ones. This isn't a year where there's a one that you're like, oh, they backed into that, right? Like they're all pretty good and they're all playing pretty well.
I mean, the gap between every 1 seed and every 3 is pretty slim this year. So, you can see anything like that. But, Purdue has a fantastic road. Purdue has a fantastic draw. This is the best draw Purdue's had in years, I think.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And that a large part of that is because they won in the regular season, right?
Yes,
you win in the regular season, you set up your seeds. It all matters. It all stacks up on each other. That's why more Big Ten championships, more all of that, it just puts more chips in your favor, right?
Yeah.
And one of these days, before I die, Purdue will make a Final Four. Just once, just one day.
Hold on, I'm looking at someone. Mark's. Oh, that was 30 minutes ago. He said there's still no link. All right, Mark, calm yourself. A link was posted. My goodness.
We got questions. Either submit them on the
Twitter machine.
Yeah, on the Twitter machine, or we got a chat on the side of the.
I can't see it. Right?
YouTube. You can't see it. No, you can't see it.
Okay.
I can see it.
Okay.
Because I am Boiled Sports. Okay, so let's scroll through some of these. Given the 8s and 9s, isn't it almost better Purdue's a 2 if your goal is a Sweet 16 at minimum? I assume this is Miles Handley asking us. Miles, I enjoy his work. Given the 8s and 9s, Who are the 8s and 9s? Let's see. Virginia Tech, Bama is Nova's. Creighton, Kansas State. Missouri, Florida State, and Seton Hall, NC State. Yeah,
Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
I thought that was a dumb question, Miles. I was about to make fun of you for how dumb of a question that was.
All of those
That's a great
teams
question.
are
those
a little
teams.
unnerving.
Yeah.
Right? They're all kind of, but then let's look at the 7-10. So 7-10, I definitely would take Purdue's 7-10 options over all of those. I don't know. I'd have to think twice about Nevada, Texas. That worries me.
Nevada, Texas. I wouldn't mind switching that one. It would be fine.
But then both of the other 7-10s
Nope.
make you nervous because one's A&M and Providence, and the other one's URI and Oklahoma. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a fair
pile
point.
of nope. Yeah, I think we got lucky. I think Purdue got lucky. I think everything is stacked Purdue's way, man. I don't know how many times you want to say this. Like everything.
Put it down in stone. It's going to happen. Anish just said it.
Final Four, national championship, right?
Now, Miles also sent in a question, and he actually mentioned this. He was trying to throw some reason and some positivity into Purdue's tough 3-game losing streak, because I remember him doing this. He said this before. He said, if you switch the dates of the first Michigan game and the Michigan State game with same results, how much better do you feel about this season?
It'd be weird playing Michigan back to back, wouldn't it? Didn't Michigan? Oh no, Michigan and Ohio. Sorry, I blew that joke. I'm sorry.
Just home and home, man. Come on. I get what he's saying. If that's suddenly not a 3-game losing streak and they just have 3 Big Ten losses sort of scattered throughout the season, yeah, you probably feel a little better about it. But I think that their performance in the Big Ten tournament sort of, the 2 wins were good. They got to the final. They lost to a Michigan team that while I didn't love a lot of their body language and a lot of that in that game, I kind of went into that thinking, what are they going to gain? Number one, they're not going to go to a 1 seed. Number two, you're not going to beat Michigan a third time. Beeline, get 3 cracks at you. I don't know. I was kind of okay with where Purdue ended up the season, honestly.
But the Wisconsin game keeps coming up in my mind, and that's just
cost them the Big Ten co-championship.
Cost them the Big Ten championship, that game.
You have a banner. You have a cup. You have another conference championship.
I mean, it's the thing that I say, right? This senior class means a lot, and they've already accomplished something. Biggie Swanigan, they made the Sweet 16. They won the Big Ten championship. Swanigan his jersey was retired. We will remember Caleb Swanigan, AJ Hammonds, and Ray Davis. AJ Hammonds, it saved Matt Painter's job. I think Matt Painter is not the coach of Purdue without John Octius and AJ Hammonds. AJ Hammond, Ray Davis, one of the, let's say, 3 best leaders Matt Painter has ever had, maybe 2. I think Chris Kramer and him are neck and neck, and nothing. Those 2 have nothing to remember by. Like their jerseys aren't hanging. All 4 of their years didn't result in a tournament win. No Big Ten championship. Finished last in the Big Ten. No Big Ten tournament championship. Like, they have nothing to remember them by. So this senior class is great, but they didn't win the Big Ten championship and they didn't win the Big Ten tournament. So what?
Gotta do something.
Are we going to get a Sweet 16 at least? You know what I mean? You don't hang banners for Sweet 16s, but is there at least going to be that? The 19-game win streak is not nothing. It's just, you need, this senior class meant a lot and they have accomplished a lot, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They got to do something.
I agree. Right? I agree. Otherwise it leaves kind of a bad taste.
It leaves a really bad taste for a class that doesn't deserve that. Right. But it doesn't matter what you deserve. Right. It matters what you earn, unfortunately. Let's see the next. How far does January's team go with this path?
That
boiler in France.
That boiler in France, yeah. That January team, the way they were playing, how badly would you love to play Villanova with the way that team was clicking, right? So I think the answer to that question is the January team assuredly goes to an Elite 8, assuredly, and I would put my money on them being able to. At the clip they were playing at, I think they could have beaten Villanova.
Yeah, and Nova's a bad matchup for Purdue, but for a Purdue team that was shooting 45% from 3, I mean,
had like two guys shooting almost 50. Like,
and then when Haas, when Purdue had to lean on Haas delivered. To be fair, that has been true no matter what.
Yes.
No matter what. During the season, Haas and Carson have been the two most consistent players. Purdue, you look at the stat line for Haas, it's a little not there, but you watch the games, you know that a lot of times Purdue wasn't going to him. A lot, the game plan wasn't there. But I think Purdue makes the Final Four with this team. And then once they make the Final Four, and you're looking at who comes out of the Midwest bracket, then what are you even doing? Yeah,
but I think we. They weren't, again, they played a Big Ten schedule, which this year has gotten no respect. But here's the difference, or here's what maybe you can say that'll, the reason you would have that confidence is in January, they weren't just beating their opponents. They were just bludgeoning the teams they played, being up 30. I go back to the Iowa game. That was probably the peak, right? Yeah. 30-point lead at the half in college basketball. That happens when it's a 1 versus 16. And Iowa, who's not a very good team this year, the disparity shouldn't be that great. Like being up almost 40, or maybe they were up 40 on Minnesota at one point, like in that January game. Holy smoke. That's a team that was like 13th in the preseason. And Purdue was definitely better, and Minnesota was sliding down. But to be killing them in the barn by almost 40, like that's what I think. That's like, when people bang on conferences like Gonzaga and St. Mary's, right? Okay, if St. Mary's is beating everybody by 40 or 50, then you could say, look, they're doing everything they possibly can.
Yeah.
But when they lose a conference game, and you're like, all right, then that's, you guys have eliminated yourself. Purdue was destroying other competition then. So, gosh, how badly would you love to see that on Friday?
Yeah,
it's Cal State Fullerton. Beat them by 30. Beat them like a drum.
Great. We haven't seen that since let's say, I guess, senior night. Senior night was nice.
Yeah, that was fun.
Senior night was the first time since that Iowa game. I would even group in, even though the win differential wasn't as much, I would extend that to when Purdue beat, though Iowa was the peak, beating Michigan. With a top 15, top 12 team now.
That was playing great.
That how many threes they make? I mean, like
all of them.
That was one of the best games of the season. That was a heavyweight battle, and Purdue came out on top.
And yet, I think we said after that game, you never felt like Purdue was going to lose control.
No,
because as good as Michigan
Indiana. The Indiana game was close, and Purdue closed it out. The Maryland game was a little closer than we would like, but nobody was nervous. I remember the group chat during that, and nobody was worried, right?
Right.
And then, and then Rutgers, which was a little close. So you put the stink on them there because you and Jay Money Jr. went to that one.
I am. What did we determine? I went 1-2 in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw the Rutgers game. That's 2-2. Then I saw 3-3. Then I saw Purdue was what 28-6 this year, and I saw half the losses.
You saw half the losses. Yeah, that's right.
Nice. So maybe I shouldn't go to the
just to show that we are looking at the YouTube comments here, the YouTube live comments here. D. Rib
nuts?
Cram. Oh, no, not these nuts. D. Rib Cram. Maybe I'm botching that. The Wisconsin game is an aberration. He said.
Nice, Ramaswamy.
I disagree.
What was the aberration? Say that again.
The Wisconsin game.
I mean,
I don't think it was an aberration. Like, why? What in the last? When was that? When was that? February 15th. What in the last month of Purdue playing? I know.
Later than that. It was like February 22nd or 24th. No, you're right.
No,
you're right.
15th. I'm looking at it.
Right. When in the last month? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When in the last month has Purdue looked like the dominant team that they were before that? Before that date, even take in the Ohio State and Michigan State games. It's just like they looked more like it's a scale, right? And they looked closer to the Wisconsin side of the scale for more games than they have, the Michigan scale, right?
Since
then. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is like, I don't know if that was an I don't know what the hell happened, but
they were also ahead, just like that game was like the one thing in consistent between Ohio State, Michigan State, and Wisconsin is Purdue seemed in control of those games. Insofar as like having a 5 to 8 point lead for a while, and then just slipped away at the end. And that's what it made everybody so nervous. It's not that Purdue lost a few games. It's that they lost it in that way that we've seen before. Like the not closing a team out that you have on, probably on the ropes. Certainly Ohio State was on the ropes. And at Mackey, oh God, that still bothers me. Any of those, and you have a Big Ten championship. I don't know why I'm sticking with that, because it doesn't really matter.
That's all right. We got the 2 seed. We got the 2 seed. We got a great draw, and that's.
And I don't know that you're any higher. Let's say if they hold on to one of those and they tie for the Big Ten title, they're still not going to get the top seed, and then they probably still lose. They couldn't have gotten a worse matchup, of course, having to play Michigan again. I would have loved to have played Ohio State again, Michigan State again. I think Purdue probably wins one of those because of the whole revenge factor, all that.
I still don't think that the way this came out, I think Purdue has still ended up at 2, maybe the best 2 instead of the worst.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how much better it would have gotten, even if they had won the Big Ten tournament. I don't know that they jump into the top 4 in the country.
Hanging a banner, that would have been great. But
nice. Yeah.
But in terms of the way that March, the bracket would have come out, I don't think we can ask for anything better. Eric Traub says it's worth mentioning that 63% of the number 2 seeds have made the Sweet 16 and 21% have made the Final Four. I don't know if that's supposed to make me feel better or worse, Eric. I'm not sure. Purdue can defy the odds, or it can be different. I don't know. 19 games is pretty different, so who knows? Let's see. Do you have another question?
I'm scanning for some here. Zajac, Mark says, I can't wait for the Isaac Haas shoe size references to reappear. It's been a while.
The Haas puns. I enjoy the Haas puns.
Yes. John Faker says, who and what were sacrificed to put all the teams that were determined dangerous in the South? And then he says, also, what the hell's up with the South bracket? Also, I just looked at the South bracket again and my eyes are bleeding. Yes, John, I agree.
Yeah, I mean that we look at it too. Like even if you look past, Arizona at the 4, it's just like putting Creighton in there. Loyola's looking good for the first time ever, right? Miami is not a bad team. I don't know. That's a crazy one. Okay, next.
So Handelism, who interacts with us quite a bit. He says, concerned. There's a question. Oh, he said he's concerned about our lack of offensive production off the bench. Should I be the first couple of rounds? And then he's got a second question. He says, how confident are you with this team getting 32 wins this season now that the bracket is out? So that's a big 2-parter. So the first one, offensive lack of production off the bench. Yeah, I'm not concerned in the first couple rounds because that's how Purdue's played almost all season. There's not been much offense off the bench. The only reason you'd need Klein to have a 10 or 12 point game or something is if the offense is really stagnant, right? Like you need someone to come in and score. They haven't had that all year. So no, I'm not concerned about that. Honestly, I'm not concerned about that for the whole tournament because this Purdue team has been good at not having major foul trouble. This isn't like the A.J. Hammond's year where he just always had foul trouble. Haas has gotten really good at not constantly getting blamed. Someone trips near the bench and Haas gets a foul call. That hasn't happened as much this year. Although sometimes he does get dragged to the floor and a double tech is called on him and the guy dragging him to the floor.
That's ridiculous.
Sometimes. And he doesn't even react. If that happened to you or me, you would be so incensed.
I'm a lunatic on the basketball floor, so it's.
This has been discussed.
Yeah, looking to me for rationale on the.
Well, so no, I'm not super concerned about that. Only because what is that going to do, right? They haven't had offensive production off the bench all season. Right. So,
but against, I don't know. But during the 19-game win streak, we said to beat this team, you need Dakota Mathias. You need all of PJ Thompson, Dakota Mathias, and Vince Edwards to be cold. Right. And we have seen that way too much. And what the mitigating factor there is that Carson Edwards is always going to play, and Ryan Klein is off the bench, and Ryan Klein can shoot, and Purdue can set him up easily enough because Purdue's got other 3-point shooters. They can't all defend, the one guy off the bench, right? The microwave scorer off the bench. But without, those 3 starters have been cold for large sections of the game, and Klein hasn't been there to bail him out, right? during the 19-game win streak, Klein hit a lot of really well-timed three-pointers. He didn't hit a lot of them, but the timing of them was perfect, right? I don't see that. So Ryan Klein not being himself, I guess, is a real concern to me. And Harms has hit the freshman wall. Hopefully he finds it a little bit. He gets a block or two that
some energy in this tournament
ignites. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and I'm not worried about Nogel Eastern. I love him.
No,
I love him.
Talk about a guy who's developed. I mean, that the opposite. You think you said that the opposite of the freshman wall. He's kind of hit his stride, and suddenly he's getting. I mean, I don't want to say quietly, but that last game he got more minutes than PJ.
Yep.
And I would expect it to continue.
So.
Yep. As long as PJ looks broken, I think you're going to see that. As long as Nogel doesn't look like it's too much for him in the tournament, I think that's what you're going to see. So that'll be interesting. And then the other part of his question was, how confident are you with this team getting 32 wins on the season now that the bracket is out? Well, he did qualify that well now that the bracket's out. I feel a lot better looking at that path than I did just a day or two ago.
So when we podcasted on like Wednesday or whatever, the over-under was set at 29.5, and both you and Dowd took the under, I took the over. I'm still sticking with my over. But now with information, so let's step by step.
Okay. Sorry.
With what we know, do you 29.5 total wins in the 2017-2018 season over under?
They have what, 29 right now? No,
they have
20. I know.
They have 28.
And you said it to 29.5.
I think they're 28.
So would I bet that they'll make? Yes, I think they'll make the Sweet 16 now. I feel better now.
Okay, now let's set the over under at 30.5.
Well, what are you asking me? What am I betting?
Well, you're betting the over under.
No.
Total wins.
I get the challenge.
That's it.
No. I get the bet. How much am I betting, Anish? If it's just throwing around money, then sure, I'll bet on them to win.
Well, money is no object. Money is no object.
You got to pick a number.
Family. Yeah, for the money family, money is no object. Let's say a limb, a pretty hardy limb off of the money tree that's growing in your backyard. Just a real, you'll
right.
feel.
Right, I would notice. I would look out there, and I'd be
like J Money Jr.'s grandkids won't have money anymore now.
Oh,
because of that,
No, I'm not. No, that's a little steep. I'm not. I like my money too much. You just moved it to 30.5. So you're saying, basically, you're basically asking what, you're asking what Handel Jones asked. Is how confident. More confident than I was. I guess I'd have to say, looking at this draw with this season, with these seniors, as you said, with them needing to have some accomplishment, I begin to think, and maybe I'm going to actually phrase this as a question to answer the question, but is an Elite Eight suddenly not the minimum, but are you going to be disappointed? I think it's fair to say I will be disappointed. I think I've actually come this far if Purdue doesn't go to an Elite Eight this year. Because when is it going to set up this well with this level of talent, these players, this team, Painter coaching well, right? It's not like you're looking at him like, oh, I don't know what he's doing these days. Everything, health. I mean, assuming Vincent's ankle is okay by Friday. But, this is not we're out of excuses, man. When is this team going to break through? They had an All-American last year, and they weren't close to an Elite Eight. That was proven to them. So yeah, now I think this is, if it's going to happen, this is now the path that you need. So
it's set up well. It's set up well, and Purdue's got a good team, and it's a senior-laden team. There's no dominant. There are no dominant teams this year. I mean, these are all
guard play. Points. Purdue has a guard. They have a big man. They have seniors. Yeah. They have a path. They have a history of playing well together. They've got continuity. They've got a coach who's been around a long time, who's coached a lot of NCAA tournament games. Right? There's too many. I mean, okay, when people look for the weaknesses, it's the same stuff we've talked about all year. What were some of the things you and Michael were throwing out there about mobile? Not mobile big. Well, yeah, mobile bigs and who can kind of spread Haas out and teams that are
you need spacing around. You need shooting to space out at least one big. You need a backup to the big who can offer a change of pace. You need shooters. You need a dynamic guard, a Kemba Walker-like guard.
Right. If Purdue runs into a team that has, a Carson Edwards when he scored 40 in that game, if they run into a team where a guy's playing like that, a Kemba Walker game, it's going to be hard for me to be too upset because that's not it's going to suck. But if it happens, you run into a buzzsaw like that, that can happen in the NCAA tournament. If they lose to a team that then goes on and loses in the next round, then I'll be very upset. I want to keep us moving here with questions. Now you'll see a couple things I want to mention. This lovely jacket was produced by our friends at 25
Apparel.
If you have any baseball, softball uniform needs, you should look them up. They're in Indiana, locally sourced. What's the right word? Locally
made, locally handcrafted,
and run by a Purdue guy, Purdue grad. So you should definitely check them out. He, a friend of the show, he sends in a question, and I think it's a good one. He says, does Boogie test the draft process this year? And I like what he said here. He said, he ain't getting taller, and his skills are fire. You can't count on him coming back, so Final Four or bust. So do I think he'd test the draft process? I think he kind of
100%,
right? Yeah.
100%.
And if they have a good run, if they have a good run, then maybe he does get drafted, right? There's a chance.
If Purdue has as good of a run to get Carson drafted, they can just shut down the basketball program. I don't care, man. That's it. I just want it once before my life ends. That's all I want.
Would you trade a Final Four for Carson?
For Purdue's basketball program?
No. I'm saying right now. I'll give you a Final Four, but that's the end of Carson's time at Purdue.
Yes.
Yeah. I think everybody would.
Yeah. I love.
There's almost the question.
And then I would never. Then he would be mine in my heart forever. Yes.
Yeah. What? Right. He'd be so perfect. There's no reason to come back. You can't get any more perfect than perfect. So,
absolutely.
There'd be just his likeness would be up on a banner,
up on my wall right here. Right.
Carson smiling.
This wall, behind the.
You just will look at it every time you're at your desk.
Yeah, that's the one wall that's open in this room. So
it's where the studio audience sits.
Exactly, it is. So you
think 100% he tests the draft process?
Yeah, of course. He'd be
no matter what.
He'd be dumb not to. Yeah, because then they changed it so that you can get feedback from the NBA, because before there was that little gap where you couldn't even do that, and that was dumb. So now they've done it again where you can test out the process. They've messed around with the date a little bit, but
the NCAA and the NBA being dumb around athletes' rights.
I know.
What?
It's crazy, man.
What are you talking about?
It's crazy. I know there's convincing.
You should be thankful that they get to watch the NBA.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is a recruiting violation if they eat a bagel while they watch the NBA.
That's right.
I think that's a recruiting violation.
That's right.
Carson Edwards. Yes, he tests the draft process. Absolutely. I think he comes back unless it's kind of like an immortal run. And in that case, bye. Goodbye.
More. See ya.
Bye. Love Ted.
Let's see here. What questions do we have?
Shout out to me making fun of D Rib Karam. His name is Mark. He clarified. Sorry about that. I'm not really that sorry. Not really that sorry.
So we got Chris Ruderschmidt. Ruda Chris on Twitter says, will the extended layoff help /hurt have no effect on Big Ten tourney teams?
If Purdue, if three Big Ten teams make the Final Four, then
they're going to have the Big Ten tournament early every year.
Yeah,
they're going to have it.
They were rested. They were really well rested. They're fresh. They're good. If they all lose, none of them make the Final Four. It's rust, man. It's rust. Jim Delaney's awful. There is no in between, right? Correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I think if you want to overanalyze and say, here's why I think there really is no real plus or minus. You want to say it's balanced out. You made this point in our podcast last week that, okay, so you have this extra week of rest for whatever that does, good or bad, but you had a compressed schedule, which beat the hell out of your joints and your players and everything else, right? So So let's say that week of that's balances, right? You're getting the same number of games played between November and the tournament. You just happen to compress them and get a little bit more rest before the tournament. So if you probably needed it more than other years, right? So and the whole rust thing, I mean, yeah, I think it can happen. I actually think rust and that sort of concept is actually more applicable to things like baseball, where you play literally every day. And then like the playoffs come around and sometimes the team sits. If they sweep, they sit for like a week, and they haven't sat for a week since March. Yeah. And that's all about super timing, right? And all that routine. And basketball, you can go shoot. You can make sure your stroke is still there.
Practicing, you know what I mean? Practices are there and scrimmages are there. And
so I really don't think that layoff is going to have a negative effect. I think that honestly, if it lets you get a little healthy, I mean, hey, what did we say we walked out of that? Vincent Edwards having 10 days, 12 days, whatever it was, to not hurt it, for his ankle to heal is terrific. And now they don't play till Friday. So
and that was, somebody asked that question, but
of course, an extra
day, the Friday game. Yeah, it was Greg McManus.
Yeah,
a frequent contributor. The Friday game is the best for an extra day of rest for Vince's ankle. Correct. Yeah, Friday game's nice. If I had to pick Thursday or Friday, yeah, Friday game's.
You know what else? I've always made this joke because in the Friday game, you feel like you've already advanced a day in the tournament. All those teams going home on Thursday, you're still alive.
Yeah, hey man, we're here. We're gonna be here until Friday.
I always feel bad for the team that gets eliminated in like the 12:20 p.m. game on Thursday. Man, it's like 2:00. Nobody's even paid attention at work yet, and you're already out of the tournament.
Wasn't the Cincy game?
No,
it wasn't noon, but
it was Thursday.
It was Thursday. I thought it was like 2-ish. Maybe not. I don't know.
Because I remember watching the overtimes while my family was trying to have dinner, and my wife was trying to keep the children from. They're like, "Daddy's not very happy right now. Just you're talking.
Don't make eye contact.
Yeah, don't. Be quiet. Be quiet."
Oh, shout out to all of you who are terrible to the people that love you because of Purdue.
Oh, and shout out to the people who understand it too.
I know. Like, shout out to the.
She was really doing that. She was like, Just eat your dinner. Don't ask Daddy questions right now.
But
kids will be like, "Dad, why are you upset?" I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know.
Then you start to question everything.
Right?
Why is my mood? Why is my mood dedicated, directed by these strangers I've never met?
I have met them, Anish. I'm a high roller. I met them at Customs. We're old friends now.
You're right. You paid for all of their educations as well.
No,
you are.
No,
yeah.
I'm not one of those.
No.
The guys who pay their
they have several money trees in their backyard.
Oh my God, those guys. And then they expect the guys who have access to the locker room and text the players, and that's got to be so uncomfortable for that high roller texted me. I got to write back to him.
Yeah, that's weird. You shouldn't be getting
no
19-year-olds cell phone numbers.
If there was a chance that the players heard anything we said, I would just say thanks so much, guys. Thanks for playing hard. No, I'm serious. Right now.
Yes.
Because
we love them. I mean,
for playing hard. Thanks, and I encourage all Purdue fans to remember this too. Those guys are wearing your school on their jersey, right? They are representing you. So, and they're good guys, and they play hard, and they're fun. And I know we've talked about the senior class. We kept saying enjoy them, but man, these guys could not be better representatives of Purdue and of all of us.
Yeah. When Haas gave his senior day speech, it was like, that was it.
If you ever wonder about guys caring, if you ever wonder about if it matters to them, just watch that stuff.
Now I hope they play like it, but they can't. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to see them go out like.
It's also partly for that. Yeah, you just don't want to see it end for them that way. Yes. It's not just selfish. It's partly selfish.
It's a lot selfish. Let's not be. It's a lot selfish. But you don't want. I don't want. I'll be frank here. I don't want to remember Vince Edwards like I remember. I don't want to remember Vince Edwards like I remember Juwan Johnson, right? Because Juwan was awesome. And he was consensus first team All-American, consensus Big Ten player and defensive player of the year. He was incredible. And then the senior night happened, which was kind of a weird one. Then I think they went to Iowa and lost, and they lost in the Big Ten tournament first game, and then they lost to VCU.
I think they had quit.
And VCU, you can see, if you look at the box score, you can see Juwan had his numbers, but you watch the game and it's like it tells a different story. I just don't want this team. I like these seniors too much. I don't want to. That
was a good defensive team too, Purdue, and they gave up 91 or 94
VCU to Havoc.
Havoc that went up to they went to the Final Four. I mean, Purdue has a habit of losing to teams that go to the Final Four, which is weird. But that was a second round loss. I mean, what a thud. What a thud.
Luke asks, does PJ regain his mojo during the tournament? I don't know.
I mean, gosh, I sure hope so. But this isn't like 2 games. This is like a month. This is since the Rutgers game, the at Rutgers game.
He said we can't. I feel like we can't see 19-game win streak Purdue without PJ playing major minutes. Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
you're absolutely right.
Because, you need that. You need that reliable threat of PJ bombing. I mean, he would hit, but he'd go like 2 for 3 from 3, or 2 for 4 in one of those games, or 3 for 5, and you'd be like, man, like. Just when if you're the other team and you get the ball to rotate around, all of a sudden there's PJ and
in
splash.
The corner. Corner threes from PJ Thompson. It's like
backbreakers. And if Purdue's going to win a game that way, you're right. That's a good observation. He needs to be what he was, at least close. I mean, he doesn't need to score 15 a game. I think he needs to score 8 to 12, right? And not turn the ball over and hit his free throws. The things that he did so automatically.
It's PJ, that's
just be PJ again. But as far as what was the question? Do we think he'll bust out of that?
Yeah. Will we see him again?
I don't know, because his confidence has to be at a low, right? He's losing minutes to a freshman. He's not shooting now. He's almost to the point now where he doesn't take shots. So I'm doubtful.
Thoughts on Texas Tech? Who has Sam Logue asks us. Thoughts on Texas Tech? They're a good team. They've slipped a lot. They've slipped a lot since in February. Remember, I don't have their schedule pulled up, but I do remember they lost something like 3 or 4 straight. After I think they ended up somewhere in the top 10, and then I think they dropped to Baylor. Started their losing streak. West Virginia was in there. Kansas might have been in there as well. And so Texas Tech is really well coached until that February streak. I think Chris Beard was the coach of the year, which is nothing. That's no help for Purdue ears. But
I just looked that up, and you're right. They lost 5 of their last 8, including 4 in a row. They lost. You're right. They lost. They had a big win streak going there. They had like a 7 in a row, and then they lost to Baylor by 2. At Oklahoma State by 8. They lost at home to Kansas by 2, and then they lost at West Virginia by 10. So none of them were horrible. All good teams too. And then they beat TCU and beat Texas, who made the tournament. And then they lost to West Virginia again. So they lost twice to West Virginia in the last 4 games. So the thoughts are just the familiarity of the coach, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the concern.
He knows.
And what's interesting is, despite all of that, Texas Tech finished 2nd in the Big 12. So,
a lot of wins early in the season still count at the end. You know what I mean? It's not the only.
We all talk about how, you were talking earlier. I hadn't looked at this, just to diverge over to the Big 12 again. But we talked about how good they are, and there are a lot of good teams. Like Baylor's 2nd from the bottom, right? 18-14, 8-10 in the conference, right? But Texas is 19-14, 8-10 in the conference in the tournament. Oklahoma 18-13, 8-10 in the conference in the tournament. Texas Tech 24-9 overall, 11-7 in second place. So, I think as you put it at the beginning of this, it's a good conference, but maybe they weren't quite as good as the hype built them up to be.
I was just looking over their game to games. They lost Keenan Evans. That was the big part of it. Just for that stretch. And so that was I don't know if they lost him or if he was just hobbled, but like that was a big part of it. It's just like Vince, you know what I mean? It's just like them losing their equivalent of Vince. He's back though. He's playing, isn't he? I don't know, but I'm almost positive that it was just like a ankle or tweaked whatever.
TCU got in as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
No, wait. Did they? No, wait, they did, right?
I thought they did.
Let me jump over.
Yeah, they did. They're six. Of course they did. Yeah. So they are the six in the Midwest.
You got one, two. So you got two, 3 teams from the Big 12 that are 500 in conference or worse made it in. No, but Nebraska's soft.
Hey man, do what you gotta do.
Nebraska's soft. Why am I so loyal to Nebraska?
I don't know, man. Listen. I'm just waiting for you to break out your Nebraska sweatshirt, your Tim Miles. You already got the Tim Miles glasses.
No, I do not have Tim Miles glasses. Tim Miles is in Nebraska. He does not have New York style. So let's
true.
Pump the brakes a little bit.
He does have almost as much money as you, though. He is well compensated for what he does.
Almost. Let's not be silly here, all right?
Purdue Cincy was at Louisville 7:07 tip off, according to Handle Jones, who was there. That's awful. You shouldn't have been there, man. I tried. Wait a minute.
The Purdue Cincy game in the tournament.
Yeah,
7:07 p.m.
That's what Mr. Handle says. Yeah,
the Purdue Cincy. Yes, Cincy. I'm sorry.
Not Arkansas.
Yes.
There are too many, there are too many heartbreakers.
Falling on your face, are you talking about? Well, the Cincy one, somebody mentioned that earlier. So let's, first of all, I don't put that quite, 7-point lead with 45 seconds to go is awful, but it was an 8-9 game. To me, that's not as, sure. Weird shit can happen in a game like that. That's not Arkansas. That's not UAL, whatever the hell, the Little Rock.
Yeah.
That's not the same. To be 5-12 and be killing them and then lose. That is. Nice.
It was worse because it was the year. Yeah, it was the next year, right? So.
And then it became like, this is gonna be Purdue's thing. It used to be that you win the first round every year. Now it's like, okay. We got a question from Steve just 4 minutes ago on Twitter. He says, "If they make a good question." Or maybe it's a straw man related question. We'll see. He says, if they make it to the Elite Eight, do the Ainter's shut up or just move the goalposts? My money is on the latter. So I'm glad this was brought up because I think we should be a little bit careful on straw man arguments. This is something Anish and I talk about, not related to sports.
Is there anything that's not related to sports that's interesting in the world that's happening right now? Okay.
Not anymore. No.
March has started. Yeah, you're right.
No. Okay. This is, by the way, and I'll get back to this. This is, and I know you're with me on this. This is going into such a fun time of the calendar because it's not the 2 feet of snow outside my house right now is going to go away soon. Days are getting longer now. There's the tournament. There's the Masters. There's baseball starting. There's NBA and NHL playoffs starting. Oh my God! The next 2-3 months are the best time of the year. So great. And if you're a senior at Purdue, you're graduating in 2 months. Like the spring and the warm weather. I have this argument. My wife and other people who are like, "I love the fall." No, you don't. No, you don't.
Fall is a reminder that death is a thing.
And you know what else? People who say they like the fall because they're like, sweatshirts and jeans. And yeah, you like this. You like the Hollywood idea of the fall. You like crunching leaves on a dry. You know what most of the fall is? Wet, cold, windy, shitty. You can't really do anything.
This is the best month. This is the best 3 months of the year.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
absolutely.
2 months, 3 months of the year. I forgot the question. What was the question?
No, if they make it to the Elite Eight, do the Ainers shut up or just move the goalposts? My money's on the ladder.
The straw man. Back to your straw man.
Well, I think that the straw man thing I'm getting at here is, while I do think there are people who are anti-painter, there's this weird thing going on right now where people are like, take that, Ainers. And people act like there's this huge groundswell of hate for Painter. And I don't think there is. And I think, again, there's this word, nuance. I feel like we've talked about this many times, that you can want more from someone, whether it's a coach, a child, a teacher, a coworker, you can want more, and it doesn't mean you think they are terrible or should be relieved of their duties. I don't know how you fire a kid, but you go with my analogy.
I'm going to fire my kid eventually.
That'd be great. We're looking at other kids.
My future kid. Yeah, exactly. You just haven't lived up to it. 5 years was enough. So
we've already invested enough in you.
Yeah, I think we got to cut our losses, man.
Exactly. Cut bait. No, I think you can demand more and still very much like the person you're dealing with or talking about. And I think that's way more of what's happening here. I don't see people talking about firing Painter unless they're a little crazy.
Don't look at Knucklehead. All right. Just don't do it.
I don't. Yeah. And all I ever hear makes me glad I don't.
Because because there's no nuance. Most people are glad that Coach Painter represents Purdue basketball. Yes. He's a great guy. He's we talked about this last time on the anonymous polls nationally of who coaches are most confident, don't cheat, are clean, run their program clean. Beeline was number 1 in the top 4. I think top 5, top 4 was Painter. So it's like he's, especially now, he's a really great coach to have. However, there are he's a really great developmental coach. He's a great defensive coach. The in-game stuff is where he struggles.
But there's not that many coaches who are truly great in-game coaches.
There aren't. We could probably name them all right now. It'd be Beeline. It's not Cal. Cal's bad at that. Cal's really bad at that, actually. Mm-hmm. That's why he's not going to go to the NBA. He's going to stay at college where he can be king. Beeline is up there. Stevens, that's what made Stevens such a good tournament coach. We know this now. He's in the NBA. Stevens is there. Who else would you trust late in games?
Krzyzewski, probably.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Probably.
Self isn't a great
he's
late
not
game
great.
coach.
No,
he's not very good. He's a great recruiter. He's a great program builder. He's like Painter on steroids.
Right. I trust Izzo.
Jay Wright.
I would trust. Yeah, but this is what you do though, and as you hear those names, you're like, well, yeah, of course, right? Because those guys are obviously, everyone else is varying degrees of good recruiter, good manager of men, right? Like a guy who's just a good Joe Torre type, right? Who he can say he doesn't really know how to pull the right switches in the game, but he knows how to make sure egos are fine. Like there's a lot of coaches who can do that. Now, here's what happens if you run a guy like Painter out, and I'm not saying that can't ever happen. Because, as you said, if Octius and Hammonds don't do what they do, he may have gone not cause, but justifiably been asked to go, right? But
let me tell you,
need an example of what can happen.
Let me tell you.
Look at Pitt, folks, and don't think for a second that that's an exaggeration. They gently, maybe not so gently, pushed Jamie Dixon out the door after many, many years of success, never quite breaking through. But they went to an Elite 8 or 2 with him, I think. They won the Big East final repeatedly, right? Before they went to the ACC in the tournament, in their Big East tournament. They were there a lot.
While Dixon was like in his prime at Pitt, they were like regularly winning.
Yes.
They were regularly
ranked a lot. They were very similar. You look at Pitt and Purdue; it's a little freaky. You and I talked about this offline. It's a little freaky the consistency between the two, or the similarity.
Dixon and Painter, like if you can draw a line you can draw a trajectory of Painter's coaching career, and it's about 10 years behind. You know what I mean? Dixon has about 10 years of experience on him, but it traces pretty close. And they hired Kevin Stallings. And now Kevin Stallings is not coaching the basketball team.
Well, and if you look at Stallings' career, which no one's ever been that impressed with, he and Painter have the same. He at Vandy, in more years of coaching, like 4 more years of coaching, he had the same number of losing seasons as Painter. I'm only bringing that up to say they're not as far apart as you might think.
It's that tier.
Right. Now you said somewhere he's the bottom of.
Somewhere at the top is Dixon, and somewhere at the
Painter's
bottom
in there.
Yeah, somewhere at the top somewhere at the top is Dixon, Bray, Painter, like all of these kind of guys. Somewhere at the bottom is Stallings.
Right.
And the problem is that when you're at the bottom of that tier, when you replace the top with someone near the middle, it could go either way. And unless you have someone. If you're really that confident in Konzo, more power to you. But in the era when when teams are getting caught doing things, maybe you want Painter. But Painter's not a great in-game coach. That's his weakness. He's a good recruiter. He's a good developer. He's good defense. Now he's shown that he can craft a really good offense. And he hires good recruiters. Lutz, is that his name? Steve Lutz,
yeah.
The guy from Creighton. A great, fantastic hire. In-game coaching is where he is weakest.
So the question from Steve was, if they make the Elite Eight, do the Ainers shut up or just move the goalposts? So if there really are people who say that and you're not satisfied with a team that can go to the Elite Eight, then I do think you've got some expectation issues. And right as I'm thinking that, Kyle, who I don't think we normally interact with too much, he's Kyle BRK on Twitter, he replies and says, to be fair, that tweet is assuming the goalposts were set on the Elite Eight in the first place. This has always been a Final Four in my estimation. Any less will be a disappointment. So Kyle has said that if Purdue does not go to a Final Four, he'll be disappointed. Now, I guess you can say every year Purdue doesn't go to a Final Four. I do find that disappointing. However, if I take that on its face and I say what he's really saying is it's unacceptable if they don't go to a Final Four with this team. And I think that is a little bit of a stretch, because even when you have a team that looks like, man, this team's a Final Four team, they don't always go. It's a tournament. It's a single elimination tournament.
It's luck.
Oh my gosh. It takes 4 wins and a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
So, to say the expectation is a Final Four, I mean, hey, we just got through saying earlier, be excited, have expectations.
I'd say, I think Elite Eight, especially with this draw, I think any team should be able to expect an Elite Eight. Any top 2 seed should be able to expect an Elite Eight. And I think that's where the line should be. Yes. Sweet 6, anything less than a Sweet 16, obviously a failure. The Sweet 16,
with this draw, you're a little disappointed. That's all I would say.
You're left with a sour taste in your mouth. Elite Eight, you remember the team. You remember the Cardinal team, right?
You go to an Elite Eight and lose to Villanova, who's going to the Final Four, and that's a tough thing to say. Oh, it's unacceptable. I mean,
I know they're not the champs, but I still think of them as like,
my gosh,
they're still that team. There's still a lot of that team. There's still Jay Wright. I don't. The Bridges is going to be an NBA lottery pick. What's his name? The guy who's been there forever, who's their captain, is probably going to make the probably going to be the runner-up to Player of the Year. Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is
that team is so loaded with experience.
They're really good. They're really good, and Jay Wright is incredible.
Impeccably tailored.
That wall, his suits, man.
Such a handsome man.
Oh, good Lord. And so that's where it should be, that matchup. I want to see that matchup, or whoever is the matchup in the Elite Eight, especially with this draw. So to kind of start to wrap up on this, I think that's the line. And you are one, J Money, to say that Painter's ceiling so far has been the Sweet 16. He has had a lot of tough breaks. The Hummel injury is a tough break, but there are recruiting misses and stuff like that, which some of it's luck, some of it is whatever. But he's had a couple of cracks at this, and he still hasn't been able to get through. So first, a week from now, do we have another podcast talking about more games? You say yes.
Yeah, they have to. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
After that, in the second weekend, if we play on the weekend, if we play Saturday or Sunday, that's the goal.
At 3-3, do I go? That's really the.
It'd be in Boston, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're right there. You can take the helicopter right on over. Just go, man. What are you?
Because you said I put the stink on them.
You did put the stink on them. You just don't tell anybody you're going. Yeah. Don't tell us. Don't tell the Twitter mob. Just go.
I do it all for them, Anish. I do it all for them. I go to give them the firsthand experience. So.
And by the way, you should read Jay Money's account from the Big Ten tournament. It is on the website. He was credentialed. Boiled Sports actually got somebody credentialed for the Big Ten tournament. J Money was there, full coverage. It was very fun.
Full frontal. So
yeah,
I want to hit a couple quick things before they
kick us off the internet.
Yeah, exactly. So someone, Brian Schramlin, Shramamium79 on Twitter, he says, "What if they lose in the second round?" Brian, why are you doing this to us?
To Butler,
or Arkansas.
Butler
would be worse.
Butler would be worse, but
yes. What if they lose in the second round? Then
time to burn shit. Burn it to the ground.
To be clear, Bullet Sports is not.
Bullet Sports is not
endorsing
joke.
The damage of public or personal property.
No arson, please.
Yeah, no. I mean, if those in the second round, I think there's any over under number of items of any sort broken in the Bullet Sports headquarters, various headquarters.
In all 5 headquarters.
Over under 4.5.
Yeah. I hear Dave's breaks a lot of stuff.
Oh, Dave's a violent, angry man. Old people get like that.
What didn't Dowd say that he broke his table?
He broke. He slammed the table, and he said, and everyone's been there. He goes, and the worst thing was, my wife didn't realize I broke it, but I did, and I'm sitting there having to be like, still mad, but like, shit, how do I fix this table? Okay, so since we're making those confessions, this was at my parents' house years ago. No one was home, and I was watching a game, and I was so angry, I blasted a door. There's a door to my bedroom, my old bedroom, and it tore it off the hinges. And I had to be somewhere, and people were coming home, and I hung that door so fast. I got tools, and I rehung the door, and I'll never forget. This is years ago. I must have been living there. Maybe it was during college even. And I remember my dad coming to my doorway, and the door was like kind of like hanging weird. And he's like looking at it, and he's like, "What's wrong with your door?" I was like, "I don't know. It's been kind of odd lately."
The weather.
I tore it off the hinges. I was so angry.
Expansion, contraction.
No, I'm not that way anymore. My wife still tells a story about a hole she found in a wall in my apartment when we were dating.
I've punched holes in walls. I always find right in between studs. But this house, the house in Pittsburgh was made in the 30s, so like the walls are like
plaster.
Yeah, it's not. You can't do
punching porcelain. You don't want to do that.
It's not. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So those in the second round, we'll be breaking things.
We'll be breaking stuff as the thing. If they lose in the first round, whale. You can join us. I'll tweet out where
it'll be a group
will be waiting. Yeah,
Bloober X.
Bloober
pool. So two people have mentioned. I just want to mention this one more thing. A couple of people have brought up the idea of a Carson explosion in this tournament. Caleb Eldridge says, "How bad do you want that Carson explosion in this tournament? I've been imagining it since he got on campus." And someone else, I'm just going to lump these together. Oh, it was also Caleb. Sorry, that's why I'm lumping them together. He said, "What's your dream tournament game scenario of Boogie exploding for 35 or 40?" He said his is Nova to go to the Final Four after everyone's praising Brunson and Nova the whole time. Now, first of all, Brunson and Nova deserve praise. I'm not going to be one of those people who's like pissed off if Purdue and Villanova are playing.
Other good teams are allowed to get. Yeah, other teams are allowed. If you're good, you're allowed to be.
They have earned it. They are a national champion. They are a repeating Big East champion. Jay Wright is super handsome.
If I had to pick one coach in America to start a basketball program, it would not be Shashat, even for 5 years. So short term, you can take all the old guys. It would be Jay Wright. So
not Calipari.
It would be Jay Wright. Hey man, if you can drop bags, then maybe Calipari. If you can drop bag, we're not telling you. We didn't mention bag drop. Oh.
I mean, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Bullet Sports is not responsible for any accusations.
Slander or libel. Yeah. So anyway, what's the dream scenario? Sure, Nova. I'll take that. I mean, honestly, I don't care when he does it. If he goes berserk and it takes Purdue farther along, that'd be
first
wonderful.
Round. Yeah, I don't care.
I think honestly, I mean, this may sound silly, but yeah, first round, who cares? We're 50 in the first round. No, but let's say there might actually be something more special to him doing that to get Purdue Painter over the hump to the Elite Eight.
Yeah,
right.
Actually.
Because the Sweet 16 they've been to, and that's what he's bumped up against the ceiling, and it hasn't been particularly close every time either. if Carson then goes bananas and it's
against
like, this
Tech
is happening,
or
this is
Florida,
we're going somewhere we've never gone before, Coach. That would probably be the
you're right. That's the answer.
Right?
Against Texas Tech, against Chris Beard, like
oh
he
my
hits,
goodness.
he hits a 40-pointer or something. Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
He hits a 40-pointer, and they don't have 40-pointers.
You're right. That was my fault.
Twos and threes. Come on.
Ones too, I hear. Are you so there's that 2.5 jumper that you're wearing, a nice little quarter
Jumper?
nice little I don't know, quarter
Track
zip
jacket.
jacket. I'm sorry. It's a full zipper. It's a full zip. My bad. So what are you wearing under there, if you don't mind me prying into your that is a nice shirt.
Oh, it's a nice shirt.
Now we have video. So
it's a nice shirt.
Where'd you get that? It's got an old school Purdue Pete on it, twirling the basketball.
Purdue basketball.
It's got
Mackey. He's in Mackey.
It says Boilermaker basketball on it. Is it soft?
Oh, it's so comfortable. Why do you think I'm wearing it? It's late night. Of course, that's.
Does it fit well? Is it too tight? Is it too loose?
Oh no, just right.
Oh, it's Goldilocks of tea. Where'd you get it?
I got it from the site martinvintage.com, and I got it for a deal. I got it for 20%.
A deal, you say?
If you call right now, you'll get the entire case of Matty Putty, the full set of steak knives.
I used to sell knives. Do you know that?
Did you do Cutco?
Yeah, I did, and I made $2,000, and then I ran out of people to call, and they told me to break the phone book out, and I was like, not a chance. Sorry, I got my $2,000. I'm gonna try to get about 500 more, and I'm bouncing. Yeah. Where'd you get it? What was the code again? What was the code? Martin Vintage.
MartinVintage.com. If you enter boiled at checkout, you get 20% off. They do have a very cool selection, and I'll also say they're a friend of the show. They are a sponsor of the Boiled Sports podcast series and of the site, and
they're wonderful.
We all have a couple, and they're good stuff.
They are the best.
Purdue graduate owned site, so always good to support a boiler business.
So Purdue's losing the first round, aren't they?
we haven't given Cal State Fullerton more than 2 seconds of airtime or study.
I know.
But you shouldn't have to. They're 15, 2-15.
And they didn't win. They're Cal State Fullerton, and they won 20 games. Like, it's not like they're a 24-25 win team. They won 20 games.
Man, Purdue got gifted a path right here. Every now and then that sort of thing happens where it's like everybody wants a coach to win, right? Like, there's no.
Come on, man. It's it. This is it. This is the one. Elite Eight.
It's fair to say, if it's going to happen for Painter, this is the path. This is the scenario you would draw up.
Yes, exactly. Yes, absolutely. And on that note, we'll ask one last question. What does a severance package look like for a 7-year-old? Asks Greg.
Well, there's got to be some cookies involved, some waffles, and I don't mean the frozen Eggo kind. I mean, I made this morning for my kids on the waffle press.
I made waffles on the waffle press too. I was at your house. No, I was.
Hey, come on! Of course you did. Yeah. My son likes what my son likes to do is if I'm working from home, it's like a busy morning, we're trying to get him ready for school. He'll be like, "Can I have the waffle press today?" I'm like, "No, I'm not dragging the waffle press out. We're all trying to go places this morning." Dope. Don't you understand how that works? Every morning is a lazy morning when you're 7 or 8. I think that's kind of severance package. Maybe some piggy bank money. Down to the developmental league, family league. We'll find you
the F league.
We'll send you to people who are married less than a year. We'll send out to a niche. Be like, all right, work on your game with this guy.
Yeah.
Work on you guys hang out, and then maybe I'll call you back up. That's
right.
I think
it's like, is amateurism a problem in this?
Think there's potential for this
system.
Idea.
This is a good idea. There's a good idea. We are copywriting this idea immediately, and I think we should.
Let people work on their in this scenario. You could work on your parenting.
Yeah.
And then you could give them back. You could be like, all right, I do want one, or I don't want one, or like it would help with that kind of decision making too.
Your kid's a nightmare. He's the Antichrist. Would not like this.
Just to be fair, he's not serious.
He is so much better than you. I would like to hang out with him more than you.
Yeah, Yeah.
He likes the NBA. He's making you like the NBA. So
He's making me attend it. I don't know.
He's great in my book.
He met Rebecca Harlow today.
Oh, he charmed her.
He did.
From what I heard.
She's like, "What's your name?" Oh, it was like a conversation too. It wasn't just a picture.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, there you
exactly. Go. What are you doing after the game? I was like, "Yeah."
No, come on. We can't have company.
Exactly. I got a podcast to do. There's a selection show on. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that was good. That's about it. That's all we got. We'll talk. Dowd is going to have a quick cast tomorrow.
There'll probably be another more traditional
do a real one. Yeah,
later this week.
Yeah.
And then we will be quiet and sit there.
Just pray at ease.
Oh my gosh, those first two games, while they should be, just please Purdue just win by 30. Just take the. Let me enjoy this tournament, right? Let me enjoy at least the first weekend. You want to disappoint me later. That first weekend is so fun, and I think we can all agree with this. It's like when you have a team that's in the NBA playoffs, right, Anish? You like watching all the games. You like staying up late. It's so fun. Then the Pacers are in, and you're like, no.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful.
It's not fun, especially when they're good.
If you're going to disappoint me,
it's actually worse when they're good, isn't it? Because you're like, don't disappoint me.
Yeah,
don't do this again.
So that's all we're asking. Second weekend.
Do we know what time they play Friday?
Yes, 12:40.
Ew, middle of the day.
12:40. There's no chance I get any work done on Friday. And to all of you other Purdue fans, also to all of you who employ Purdue fans, nothing happening Friday going into the weekend. That's it. That's the game.
To get up, have breakfast, and watch Purdue.
That's good. Hey, for you West Coasters, you do sports right. The sports calendar on the West Coast is the way to do it, man. Anyway, thanks for listening. Right. Thanks for watching. Download, subscribe, rate 5 stars, all that stuff. That'd
Share
be
with
good.
Your friends.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see you later this week.
Love you guys. Good night.